Hi everyone, and welcome back to the WM32 Football Podcast for episode 2 of our Premier League Hall of Fame. Before we start, just want to quickly thank everybody for getting involved with episode 1 on the goalkeepers. Voting is still open for our Wildcard choices, so make sure you get your votes in on YouTube. And we'll put a link in for that particular one off the back of this episode for you guys as well. Episode 2 then today, we are going to be going on to fullbacks. A reminder of the rules. So they must be retired, must have played in the Premier League, and either myself or Connor must have seen them play. So Connor, we're going to start then with right back. And your pick, please, young man.
Well, I feel sorry for you to have to pick a different right back to me. There's only one right back it can be. It's Gary Neville. Again, leader. Was part of that amazing back five, as I called it last episode of United's. Consistent, always good, always good communicator. Made sure his team was doing everything. He won everything that can be won in the game at club level. And also was only one of 3 players of that 92 side that stayed at United their whole career. So, and to stay at United, possibly the biggest club in England over that time, is pretty good, pretty sensational.
Yeah, I think, well, you've set the bar very, very high with your pick there. But no, I think Gary Neville, Mr. Consistent for the most part of his career. I know he's openly come out and said that towards the end of his career at Man United, it wasn't the greatest for him, and his performances dipped and everything else. Injuries took their toll. And then with that, lost his place a little bit. Openly comes out and says about the West Brom game, which ultimately was his last one for United, I believe, and said that he knew then that was the point that he was going to retire. And I'm sure, as we all know, big Man United fan as well. So for him to have that longevity of playing for, like you said, not only the biggest club in the world, but a club that he supported as a boy and everything. I think you can't really go too far past Gary Neville. Like I say, you've set the bar very, very high with that one.
Yeah, I tried to, because I know what you'd be like. You'd try and throw someone that played for Tottenham in. Like we spoke about it, and you tried to say Stephen Carr was a high quality right back, and then that's different gravy. But there's been some very, very good right backs in the league, but I think Gary Neville's been the best to ever play in the Premier League.
Just want to say on the Stephen Carr thing, I think he's a decent. I've not said he's outstanding, top quality, 9 out of 10, but I think he was a decent, steady right back. So I just want to dispel that.
Patient.
Just want to spell that myth that me thinking that Stephen Carr was a top quality right back. No, he was a steady right back for me, that's for sure. But anyway, should we go with my pick?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I'm going to bring to you an international who has played with arguably one of the best players in the world, one of the best players that we've probably ever seen, was part of a formidable backline as a player who featured in our goalkeeper episode. And my pick is Paulo Ferreira.
Very, very good.
I think, Paulo Ferreira come in at Chelsea and followed Mourinho from Porto, and probably was one out of that Chelsea back line that went unnoticed and was a bit underrated in my opinion. When I'd seen him play, he didn't he didn't really get skinned or anything like that. Even filled in at centre back when Chelsea had defensive crisis in that position. And yeah, for me again was a bit of a solid player. Like I say, probably underrated, went unnoticed, but done his job and was very, very effective in doing that job. So yeah, that's why for me Paulo Ferreira gets in there, and obviously he's won Premier Leagues, he's won FA Cup, he's won League Cup as well. So I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe he won the Champions League with Chelsea as well. I believe he was might have been part of the squad at least. I think Ivanovic.
Yeah, I think he was.
I think Ivanovic played, but Ferreira was probably on the bench.
He was definitely like very, very underrated, because when you look back at like noughties especially, and people speak about like the best right backs in the league, they speak obviously Gary Neville. Some speak about Loren and his time at Arsenal. Who was obviously Paulo isn't brought up as much, but like Liverpool didn't have a lights out right back then. City were never near the side they were. You lot had Stephen Carr.
Then he left, and it was Paul Stalteri. So yeah,
like out of the big 5-6 clubs that are now, you maybe had 2 or 3 high quality right backs. And yeah, Paulo Freire was up there and was definitely underrated.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think, and the fact as well that he's won the Premier League and was part of that formidable backline with Chelsea, for me is a big factor into why he gets in and is my shout for right back for our Hall of Fame.
Yeah, very, very good.
Perfect. Happy with that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Brilliant. Right, moving on then to left back. I mean, is there only one really?
I'm going to say there's only one. You're going to try and say there's 2.
It'd be a bit boring if we just both agreed.
Yeah, and knowing you, it's going to be. If you pick who I think you're going to pick, you've been smart, but I don't think you're going to do that, because you and smart don't really go in the same sentence, Wes. But I've gone for England's greatest ever left back. He was an invincible. He's won leagues at Chelsea. He's won a Champions League. He's won a Europa League. Then he went off to LA for a bit and just chilled in the sun. It's Ashley Cole. The man that I have many problems with, and the biggest one being the fact he happened to be with Shell before I could. But yeah, Ashley Cole, what a left back, part of that invincible side. And I remember teams would come up against Arsenal and they would try and put an extra player to push out onto him, because it was known that Arsenal would attack down the left, because you had an Ashley Cole, a Robert Pires as a duo, and then Henry would just drift out to the left so one of them can come inside. And we were so formidable down both wings, but we were known mainly for that left-hand side, and Ashley Cole's a massive part of that. So for me, after his cell phone incidents that we wouldn't let go of with Mourinho, he unfortunately moved and carried on to be possibly the best left back England has ever seen, or possibly will ever see. People obviously make very quick shouts to say Ben Chilwell's up there with him, but until Ben's done what Ashley's done, I don't think he can be involved in that conversation. But I think he is the closest left back that England has to an Ashley Cole.
Yeah, I think no one's going to dispel your choice, or even probably argue with your choice of having Ashley Cole as left back. Consistently a top performer over many years, especially in the Premier League. Won league titles, won FA Cups, won League Cups, won Champions League, Europa Leagues. Was a notoriously hard player to play against for any winger. The majority of wingers always say that when they're asked who's the toughest opponent, 9 times out of 10 it's Ashley Cole. Was brilliant in 1v1 situations. I think similar to Wan-Bissaka now, like I don't recall many players actually getting past Ashley Cole, like at all.
No.
it was a bit frustrating for me seeing Ashley Cole play half the time because he either played for Arsenal or he played for Chelsea. So everybody that knows me
Yeah,
knows I don't particularly like those two clubs anyway. So the only time I could really enjoy watching Ashley Cole was playing for England. But no,
yeah,
certainly in the Premier League, he was top drawer, and for everything that he's achieved in the game, I think he's one of also very few black players actually to reach
yeah.
100 caps. He may even be the first one to reach 100 caps for
I
England.
I think he was because he was of a different class as well. Like a lot of people don't realize, like not just the impact he had on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Like if you listen to anyone talk about him, they speak about the way he carried himself and the way he presented himself. Like even when he had the stuff with like Cheryl and all the personal stuff behind the scenes, it never really affected him when he got onto the field. Like he was always a 7, 8 out of 10 every game. Like you didn't see people getting past him. He was great on the offense. He had a lethal left foot when he hit the ball as well. Um, it was just it. It did hurt seeing possibly his best years at Chelsea, but it was, I'd say, unfortunately, he never won anything at international level with a lot of the English players. They should have that over those few years, but due to poor management or whatever it was, it just didn't work out. But let's hear your person that's going to rival him.
Well, I mean, with this particular episode, Connie, you've not given me much here. No, well, not much in terms of wriggle room here, by the way. But I'm going to bring to you somebody who has won Premier Leagues, has been involved in squads in World Cups that have got very, very far into competitions and everything else. Champions League winner as well. My pick is Patrice Evra.
I love this game.
He does love this
As I
game.
said, if you hadn't have picked this man, you would have been slewed by everyone.
Yeah,
Like he,
no one needs that negativity in their life these days. Do you know what I mean? But no, what more do you say about Patrice Evra? I mean, he come in at Man United as a relatively unknown player to a lot of people, especially fans of Premier League teams. Had a nightmare debut against City, but then became probably the best left back in the league after Ashley Cole, I would say, because I think it was when Evra came and really started to come into his own. It was when Cole was,
on the
just coming
way,
towards
sort
the
of
end of
out.
his time at Chelsea, and then he went to Rome. Cole went to Roma, and then ended up in LA with LA Galaxy, and then had a short stint with Derby County. But no, for me, Evra's consistency once he finally got going was fantastic. Modern day fullback, could get forward. Really good in terms of getting balls into the box and assisting a lot of goals, which I think a lot of people do not realise. If I look at the way United played at that particular time, really, when Evra was at his peak, you had pretty much Ronaldo on the left cutting in or playing sort of up top and then Rooney would interchange with Ronaldo a lot of the time. So there's plenty of space for him to bomb up and down. I think he did that really, really well. And like I say, could put different types of crosses into the box as well. So it wasn't just always a whipped cross or a driven cross. There's some that are quite high, some low, and things like that. So, and again, I don't recall too many players really sort of taking the mick out of him. Similar to
Yeah,
Neville, similar to all the fullbacks really that we've spoken about in that respect. I think the defensive qualities of them, yes, they might have been more, you say modern day fullbacks, but defending perhaps wasn't the top of their art, if you like. But no, I think, like I say, all the fullbacks that we've chosen could defend first and foremost, and then go and attack.
yeah. It's like we speak about fullbacks now, and pundits do it a lot as well. They go, "Oh, they're great on the front foot." but not many of them are good going back. And that's the way the sort of game's changed. The only ones that you see is like that are good going back are like a Wan-Bissaka, who isn't amazing going forward, but we'll learn that side of the game later on. But like Cole, Evra were the one of the best in the league at going forward, but even more importantly, the best going backwards. Like their teams were always good defensively, didn't concede much. You knew if you were going to Old Trafford and you were playing United side, as we've said before, you're not in for an easy game. You're going to get kicked off the pitch. They're going to outplay you. They're probably going to outscore you. And you've got a tricky French left back who will have you on toast almost every game, like going back and forward. He was a machine as well. The lungs that man has on him is outrageous, because what he was, even at West Ham in his 30s, he was up and down and still going. So it shows like the best of the best. Not only do they give up their life for their craft, but they are so good at it that they can keep it going.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I agree with the points you made there. But yeah, no, for me, I don't think when you speak about Premier League left backs and ones that have retired as well, must throw that one in there. I think those two, as in Cole and Evra, are the top two, and then it's probably a battle after that as to who else would potentially get in. So yeah, no, for me, that's why Evra's in. He's won the lot pretty much. So yeah, I can't really not have Patrice Evra in a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right then, on to wildcards. Who are you going for?
See, I was going to let you go first, but I think you're going to say the same name I'm going to say. Because when we get out of that sort of like top bracket, you go down a little bit. Like I was listening to interviews with like people and they were going, oh yeah, you had like, I'm just going to name these two because they're Arsenal as well. Bakary Sagna, who was class for 7 years, even after his injuries. And he came out recently in a podcast and said like in his first year, he lost his brother, and in the second year was so hard because that was when it hit him. But coming through that made him a better player, which he was better afterwards. And Arsenal, in his first year, probably should have won the league because we were one of the best teams in the league. And when he got injured at Chelsea, we were winning 1-0. He scored his first Arsenal goal, and it was like, and his Achilles went. I think it was his Achilles. And from then, it was just our defence wasn't the same the rest of that season. Then there's Lauren, who was I love just because of his goals against Spurs, but was also class. And as Freddie used to say, if you got past Freddie, he's kicking you. Like Lauren will just come in and clean you out. I wanted to say Zabaleta, but I think he's still playing.
He is. He is at West
still
Ham.
At West Ham.
He is at West Ham, just about.
And you're going to have to let me know, because if this guy is still playing, because he's not someone that I keep up with now, I'll change my answer. But I'm going to say Branislav Ivanovic.
Oh, it's gone to VAR. It's gone to VAR, and Branislav Ivanovic is at Zenit.
Is he?
He is.
See, I told you, I'm not, because I wanted to pick him for what he did at Chelsea, because after Paulo Ferreira, he was Chelsea's probably best defender all out. But I will then go with Bakary Sagna. Obviously, recently retired in Montreal. He's now a sporting director or something like that up there. I was listening to him speak about that. But yeah, constantly consistent. And when Arsenal didn't have him in the side until we got Hector in at a young age, we didn't look the same, because it was replacing with Emmanuel Boué, who was great and a great laugh, but wasn't on the quality. Like I remember Boué's first game at Highbury, it was an FA Cup game, I think it was against Sunderland, and literally stands on the ball and halfway on both feet and goes like that and pretends to look for a pass because we're winning that easy. Like he was a good comedy player, but he wasn't of a Bakary level. And yeah, it was a shame when he left, but like I was listening to him speak, he was like, where he wanted to win something with Arsenal before he left. Obviously, the last year of his contract, he knew he was going to leave because Hector had been playing a bit more, and he was grateful that he won the FA Cup before going to City. At City, he was very, very good, obviously, but struggled with a couple of injuries due to age and stuff like that. But yeah, consistent, and I've got a lot of love for that man, especially that hairstyle. He had the braided hairstyle. Like, if I could have pulled that off, I would have tried.
Yeah, no, I think Bakary Sagna is probably, you speak about right backs, and it is, a Gary Neville, and then after then obviously I picked Paulo Ferreira, who's an underrated player in my opinion, but I think Sagna is definitely in the conversation for top 3 right backs from the Premier League era, 100%.
Yeah.
Was good going forward, could also defend. I like the fact that he ran his contract down, went to City on a free, and then won the league. I do like that because, and I think as well at
none of
that
your
point,
players could.
well, I think at that point, Arsenal was City's feeder club, so it was great to see the likes of
And
Sagna
none of
having
your
to
players
leave.
could win the title, so.
Well, Sagna had to leave Arsenal to win the title. So did Nasri, and whatnot as well.
Nasri
So,
doesn't count as a player. We know what he gets up in his personal life. We're not going to go into that.
So yeah, no, I think that was good. Yeah, from a Tottenham perspective, to see that one of your top performing players leaves and then achieves what they always wanted to achieve at Arsenal, but achieves it with someone else. And yeah, I think again, assist wise goes a little bit unnoticed. I think he racked up quite a few assists in his time in the Premier
Yeah,
League.
it was very vital. Like, as I said, I was listening to the interview that he did, and they brought up the goal against Spurs when we were 2-0 down, like the header, and it was just like he went, yeah, it was my first goal in 2 years, and I scored it, and then it was like I had a belief that we were just going to win the game, and obviously we steamrolled you 5-2 that game. Like, second half we were like different, but he says he remembers like going in at half time, and it was a different sort of vibe to the team from the one that he saw like as soon as they went 2-0 down. He came up with vital goals, last ditch challenges, great, just very, very good defensively and very good offensively. And I remember Hector speaking about him going, when he came to the club, obviously Bakary was the number 1 right back, and saying he learnt a lot. And you could see that in the first couple of seasons when Hector was coming through, that he was very similar to Bakary, but just a bit more offensive.
Yeah,
So,
no, agree with that. But yeah, and I think, as I mentioned, when you talk about Premier League right backs, I think Sagna is definitely in the top 3 for, again, consistency in terms of, I wouldn't say he was the best, always the best on the pitch, but I wouldn't say he was the worst either. When I'd seen Sagna play, he was probably a 7 out of 10 every week.
Exactly, and when you're playing with a centre back partnership of like Scalacci and one other.
Senderos was probably the other one at the time.
No, he wasn't. He was at Fulham. That's
yeah,
another thing. I was speaking to you earlier. How Scalacci got caps for France and Aymeric Laporte hasn't. Worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, excellent. But I see Bakary Sagna, and I'm going to bring to the table a fullback who has played for, I believe, 4 different clubs in the Premier League. If somebody would want to check this stat afterwards, they can let me know or let us know in the comments section. But has won Premier Leagues, has been capped internationally by his country. And my pick is going to be Glenn Johnson for a wild card. See, I said to you earlier about this particular one. It's either going to be one where you go, "Oh, I forgot about him" a little bit, or it's going to be, "Oh no," because I think Glenn Johnson is one of those that does divide
He definitely
opinion very,
divides
very much. So,
opinion
yeah,
because if you look at him at his Liverpool days, weren't great. I'd say Pompey was the ironically the pomp of his career.
yeah. Poor one from you,
But
that,
yeah,
by the way.
no, it wasn't. That was brilliant. Yeah, very split opinion, but I like him.
Yeah, no, I think well, it'd be 5 Premier League clubs actually. So come through at West Ham, broke into their team, did really, really well. Got moved to Chelsea when they were, it seemed, on a mission to buy everyone in the league and whatnot, but did okay to begin with. I think it was under Ranieri that he was bought when Abramovich sort of first took over. And then with the introduction, I think, ironically, of Paulo Ferreira, lost his place and was out the door at Chelsea. You mentioned there Portsmouth did really, really well there. Scored an amazing goal against Hull, which I'm sure people have seen. If not, what have you been doing? Because it's an absolute rasper of a shot, and one of those that is out of absolutely nowhere, by the way. So if you haven't seen it, please go and check that out. But yeah, did very, very well at Portsmouth. That earned him his move to Liverpool for about 20 million quid, and did very, very well, I think, at Liverpool, and even played on both sides and adapted, I think, very, very well to doing that. Strong, athletic, could get forward, was decent, I would suggest, in 1v1 duels and things like that. So, chipping in with assists as well for teammates, I think that always helps if your fullback can provide those. And then obviously when he was at Stoke, it was a bit of an up and down time for him and whatnot and stuff like that. But no, I think Liverpool, he was excellent, and Portsmouth, he was excellent as well, and did an okay job when playing for England as well. So yeah, that's why Glenn Johnson's getting my wild card pick.
Decent, very, very good.
You happy with that?
I can't say much about that. I completely forgot about him.
Yeah, see, I was just sprung one on you, surprised you for once.
Yeah. You surprised me a lot, Wesley, but they're not always good.
Well, this was a good one, right?
Yeah.
Well, brilliant. I'm gonna take that as a compliment. So thanks for that. But right, guys, that is it for us for this particular episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to leave a like on the YouTube video, comment in the comments section on YouTube, and also vote for your wildcard pick. And again, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you soon. Connor, take care, my man.
You too, bro.